Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. I'm Awais and in this video I'm going to explain my first Python project. It's actually a Python script to scrape data either from a single or multiple websites. In caption, I have briefly mentioned the reason to choose this as my first Python project, and because of that reason I named this Python project as Python Project Idea Scraper. Now let's move on to the project, and during the explanation I will try to explain each important code line as well as built-in functions and imported libraries. So first I have installed required libraries here, which is BS4, Beautiful Soap 4, Requests Library, Pandas, HTML5 lib. So BS4 here is a Python library for parsing HTML and XML documents. It simplifies the process of web scraping by providing user-friendly tools to navigate, search, and modify a web page's HTML. Next, here is a request used for making HTTP request to any web page, essentially asking the website for its content. Next one here is Pandas, used for handling and manipulating data, especially in tabular form. Here basically we will mainly use it for to download our scrap data into an Excel file. And the last one here is HTML5 lib. It is an HTML parser that helps Beautiful Soap understand even messy or incomplete HTML code, just like a web browser does. So after installation, I have imported libraries here using the import keyword, and now here the header. The header here is like a digital ID card which Python web scraper shows to the website. The most important information on this ID card here is the user agent, which is like it tells the website, hello, I am a normal web browser just like Chrome and not just a simple program. Here I use this so that the website doesn't block my scraper by thinking like that it's a suspicious bot or something. Instead, it shows me the regular web page content. Also, you can access this from Google just by typing my user agent. After that, here I initialized a list variable which I used to append and store each website's scrap data in it. Later I'll discuss more about this. After that, here comes the main part of this code. I will skip this function for now and go right down here. Here you can see I ask the user to enter the number of pages he want to scrap, like how many web pages data he want to scrap. He will enter the number and that number will be used as a counter in the for loop. So that for loop will run that many times, and in the for loop body you can see here a function call of that above function, and the return value will be stored in the page data variable. So every content function get will be stored in this variable page data variable, and the page data variable content will be extended to the all scrap data list. So what is happening here? Every time for loop run, the function call here will go to the function and do its thing there and return some content or data which will store in the page data variable, and that data will be every time that data will be extended to this list all scrap data. So let's talk about this function now, scrap data page data function. So in this function, first I ask the user to enter the URL. Like you know that point I told you that I ask the user to enter like how many pages he want to scrap. So every time the loop run, it will ask the user to enter the URL. So here user will enter URL, and after that he will enter the tag. He can enter one or more than one tag separated by spaces, and the our code here will scrap data from that tags and store return back to the page data variable here. So after that, I use the try except technique to handle the exceptions. Here we will discuss about this here in the except block and some few here. So first in the try block, I use the get method to send an HTTP request to that web page, and the response will be stored here in this variable. So I use here the raise for status function here. So what it will do? It is basically automatic error checking in our web request. As like it checks the status code like 200 to 404 or 500 that the website sent back. And if the status code indicates a problem like a 404 not found or 500 server error or something else, then this line will automatically stops the code and raise an error. So I use this to quickly detect if something went wrong with the web request, or so that my program doesn't try to process an incomplete or error page. Also, if there's some error here, then try block will not run and it will automatically shift to the accept block. And after this line, you just print the status code here, and after that we use the beautiful soap library here. So this line takes the raw HTML text from the website and organize it into an easy to search map ready to find specific information. Here response.text is just the raw HTML unreadable is just the raw unreadable HTML code my program get from the website, and features HTML5 lib tells the interpreter to use a specific set of rules to organize the HTML. After that, here I use the list comprehension, which is the most important thing here. I use the list comprehension concept for fast, short, and clean code. And here, tag list is given to the find all method to find each occurrence of all mentioned tags and put it in item variable one by one of for loop. And here, item.get text gets only the visible words or content of that HTML element, and strip through removes any extra space or empty lines from the beginning or end of that text. Lastly, lastly the return statement will return all the gathered content data scrapped from the given web page back to the calling statement. So if this block will not run, then we will go to the accept block. Here I use the request exception class, which is basically the base exception class for all errors that can occur with the request library. It means that if any problem happens while trying to send or receive a web page request, like no internet or website gives an error or something like that, it will catch that problem. And after that, here I referred it as E. After next line I just print the URL and the error here. Moving on further, here I use the has attribute function. So this line here checks if the website actually sent us a reply, like even an error message when our request failed. In simple terms, like sometimes a request fails because we can't even connect to the internet or reach the website at all, or the request does reach the website but the website replies with an error page like a page not found or captcha issue like I'm a robot or similar things like that. So this line specifically checks that did the error include any kind of response from the server, and if it did, then that response does actually filled with data or it's empty. So if both are true, it means the request at least communicated with the server and got something back, which is very helpful and useful for debugging and to know that why we are blocked or why the page didn't load correctly. So after that, I just print here the response with the text, and lastly I return the empty string. So after this, here I return the empty string to avoid any code crashing or to clearly signal no data to keep the loop run smoothly, because back in the loop here you can see our code expects to get a list. So if an error occurred and the function didn't return anything, or either return something that other than a list, the all scrap data here line would crash. So to prevent this, I return the empty string here. So until here, I use this was the code to scrap the data from each website the user will enter, and store the data of scrap, store all that scrap data in the all scrap data variable list variable. So after that, I just need to export the data in the Excel file. So for that purpose, I use the Pandas library, and here I am converting the list into Pandas data frame and laying the columns automatically. And lastly, here I export and download the data in the Excel file. And at the end, here just printed the success message. So let's run this code by once here. So to run this code, enter. So as I told you, first this code will ask me that how many pages I want to scrap. So I will enter here too that I want to scrap two web pages. Now, as I mentioned you before, it will ask me that enter the URL of the page you want to scrap. So to enter the URL, I use this URL and enter the tags if I have to scrap one tag or more than one tag. So I just want to scrap one tag. So if someone else want to scrap more than one tags, he just space here and enter other tags here. But I don't want to scrap more than one tags, so I just write here one tag and enter. So as I write here that I want to scrap two pages, so he will again ask me to enter the URL. Here you can see the for previous URL, he output here the status code 200 that it is okay. He access the URL, he access the web page. Now here I will enter the other URL. Now again enter the tag here. Now let's see here. Again, it told me said output me the other URL, second URL will be successful as well. And lastly, it shows me all the data, all scrap data in the list here. And after that, it successfully exported the data in the scrap data file. So what is this file? I will show you here. I will open this file. What's in this file? So here in this file, you can clearly see we have get all the scrap data from those two pages, all the projects names here. Okay, so it is basically a success that we get all the project names here in the file. So it is basically something messy, some messy data here. We can clean this data and use it for readable. You make it in readable form for doing data cleaning here. So to summarize this project here, the Python script automatically grab data from website from any websites and handle any errors it faces and neatly organize everything into an Excel file. So this was the project I made. That was my first project. I hope you enjoyed this project breakdown. Also, if any one of you have any questions or recommendations or just want to connect, then please feel free to reach out to me here on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you.